Hi everyone, my name's Renee and I'm going to be showing you how to make do-it-yourself sketchbooks and some bookbinding techniques today. I'm going to show you 3 different types of techniques and they're all with materials that you can probably find just lying around. They're pretty simple materials. So to start off, the first technique that I'm going to be showing you is how to make a zine, it's called a zine and it's short for a little magazine. These are really popular art books that you can make and they require really simple materials. So what you need for this is some printer paper, just regular 8.5 by 11 paper, and some scissors. So I'm going to clear off my workstation here a little bit. With your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it could also be a bigger sheet of paper if you have one of the really long ones, you're going to fold it into 8 different sections, okay? So I'm going to start off by folding it in half. And then in half the other way. And then right now I have 4 sections and I want 8. So I'm going to fold this half section in 2. And this other half section in 2. Okay, so now I have 8 pieces that are all the same size. And what I want to do now is on this middle line here, I want to cut it, okay? So I'm folding it in half like this. And I want to cut right here, just to this area here, okay? You don't want to cut all the way through. And you can just go with your scissors and stop right there, okay? So now what you get is a piece of paper with a slit in the middle, okay? What we're gonna do now is fold that in half like this. And you'll notice that there's kind of like an open mouth. And what we're gonna do, it's a little bit tricky, this part. But we're gonna try and kind of find a book shape in there, okay? I get a little book shape, okay? And then you might notice that your edges are a little bit crooked, and what you can always do if you have a ruler, you can just flatten out your edges. So I'm just gonna go here with my ruler and put some pressure on the edges so that they lie really flat, like this, okay? And then you have a little book that you can draw in or make designs. You could collage onto it, anything. I started making one about making books and zines, and you can just sort of start drawing in it. So that's the first type of book. Okay. Now, for the second one. The second one that we'll be doing looks like this. And how it's held together is with some sort of stick and an elastic, okay? So for this book technique, you will need some paper. So a bundle of however many sheets of paper that you want your book to have in it. And remember that you're going to be folding them in half. And then you'll want some sort of cover for your book. So I found some thicker paper that was colorful because I wanted my cover to be a little bit more colorful than the pages inside. And that's going to be my cover and the pages. Then what I need is some sort of stick. That could be a popsicle stick, it could be a skewer or a chopstick. Any of these can work. I'm going to fold them in half, okay? Now, I'm noticing that it's a little bit tricky to get it to lay totally flat, so I'm gonna go with a ruler just to flatten out that edge. And I'm just applying some pressure here on the edge. So now I've got my book shape, and the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 2 holes near the edge of the book where the spine is, okay? So I've got my hole punch. You could also do this if you have a 3-hole punch at home. You want to make sure that there's just 2 holes. So if you can maneuver your paper within the 3-hole punch, that works well. But luckily I have a 1-hole punch here. So I'm going to be using the popsicle stick, and it's going to sit right here. Okay? So I want to make sure that my holes fit within the space of the popsicle stick. Okay? So I'm just going to hold it beside, just as reference. And I'm noticing that this is really way too thick. I have too many papers in here to really make a hole. So you might need help from an adult just to put more pressure. Or what you can do is take out some pages, because they're a little bit too thick. Okay, so I'm going to try this again now that my pages, there's a little bit less of them. See if this works. And it worked just enough. I think I'll be able to put my elastic through this hole, so this is good. So I have 2 holes near the spine of my book. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop my elastic through one of these holes, okay? Here we go. And then we have our book. So here I'm noticing that my elastic is a little bit loose, right? Ideally, I would want this to be tighter. So maybe I'll try it with the chopstick instead, see if that works better. And if not, I could also find an elastic that is smaller, or if I wanted to, I could make my holes in the paper a little bit wider so that the elastic is really tight, okay? But there you go. I've got my book, and it's good to open and draw in. So that's the second technique. So the last technique that I'm going to be showing you is done using some thread. And this here I have threaded to bind my book together, okay? This is called a saddle stitch. That's the name for this specific type of stitch. And you can do this on pretty much any type of paper as long as it's not too thick. So here I just have some regular cardstock and some regular printer paper. And for this one here, I found some fancier papers and just made an assortment of them. Even included some magazine paper, some other fancy papers. So I'll be showing you how to do that saddle stitch. What you need is some paper. So I'm going to be doing my inside paper, just some regular 8.5 by 11 paper. And then I'll be using something that's a little bit thicker as the cover. And You'll notice that my cover sheet is a little bit bigger than my inside sheets, because when we fold it, that means that no paper is peeking out. But if they were all the same size, that's okay. You can always cut and trim it afterwards. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it in half with all of the sheets. And I'm gonna open it back up. Okay, and I want to make sure that they're all aligned with that middle line. And we're going to be making 5 holes in the spine here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I've got some paper clips, and I'm going to hold my sheets of paper together with my paper clips. You could also do this with any type of clip that you have lying around. Okay, and then with a ruler, I'm gonna measure out roughly 5 different spots, okay? So I'm gonna see here, about in the middle. I'm gonna start with my first hole, just gently marking out where it is. And I'm gonna pierce the paper all the way through, okay? And then I want 2 more up here and 2 more down there. And I'm just gonna roughly mark them and go for it. Okay, so 1 more hole. Okay, and now I have 2 more. Okay, so now I've got 5 holes in my spine. The next thing that I need is some thread or some string to bind the spine or the edge of my book, okay? So here I have a needle that is threaded, and you'll notice that there's a little, I'm gonna start off going in that middle hole. And you might wonder, is it better to go from the inside? And I'm not gonna loop it all the way through. I'm gonna leave a little tail end, okay? Now, I'm gonna go through that next hole, through the back, okay? And this is where our paper clips are really helpful to make sure that all of those holes stay aligned. Okay, so now we have one side done, almost there. Next, we're gonna go back through that middle hole, making sure that we're holding on to our tail so that it doesn't go through. Flip it over. Go through this one here. Go back. And then we only have 1 more to go through. We're gonna go through that middle hole 1 more time. Flip it over, and now we're gonna make a knot, okay? So I'm just gonna loop underneath one of those, and I'm gonna make a knot, okay? So we're looped underneath the one string, making a knot just so that it holds a little bit better. And I'm gonna go back through that middle hole 1 last time. We're almost there. Okay, now I've got my tail end and I've got my long strand, and I'm gonna make 1 more knot, and then we'll have our book all ready to go. Okay. So that's good, and I'm gonna I'm gonna cut this off. I'm gonna take off my clips. And now I've got a book that holds itself together because we stitched the edge with a saddle stitch. So those are all 3 bookbinding techniques. You can do really anything, any combination with them, different types of paper, different sizes, and you can use them to make your own drawings or sketches inside. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have fun making your own books.